lakes and rivers, and she's basically working on bridging the gap between communities and the research and the activity which are taking place around the ponds and or the water bodies and restoring them. She has authored almost 17 research papers and 90 popular science articles. Her work on biodiversity, wild edible plants has shaped both academic research and grassroots conservation. She has been closely involved in restoring ecological balance of rivers and lakes in Pune, including Pushkarni Kund and Ram Nadi, I think. Yeah, Ram Nadi, creating models of revival that combine community participation and scientific approach. I hope this webinar will bring her deep insights on the various facets of the river and restoration that requires revival through community approach. Welcome, Dr. Prachi. Nice to see you again after a long time. I think you have been associated with Auspicious Memorial Award Series. So,
yes,
please
sir.
start your.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes. Can I start, Sania?
Yes, Dr. Prachi, you can start, and I request everyone, please mute yourself. You are allowed to please open the cameras, but I request everyone to please mute yourself. Dr. Prachi,
Okay.
you can start.
Yeah. Is it okay to switch on the camera or can I off it?
Or like we would request you to please switch on the camera, but if there's a
Okay.
bandwidth issue, you can switch off.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Fine.
bandwidth sometimes better to see.
So, good evening, everyone present for this online seminar. And before I start my presentation or my talk today, I will like to thank Gujarat Ecological Society for this association. And I hope this association will go long away. So today I'm going to talk about the river reviving. And the topic is river reviving, local actions for global sustainability goals. My entire presentation or talk is mainly divided into the two parts. In the first part, I will talk more about what are the local issues to the river and how that, because when we talk about the revival of the river, there are the different issues and we have to address the different issues by the different actions. So that I will talk on the different issues in a different way in the entire presentation. So when we say the revival of the river, then we know the river is a very important ecosystem. It's the lifeline for all the ecosystem, communities, and the economics. But yet, many of these rivers faces the severe problem of pollution, habitat loss, and declining the biodiversity. That's why river revival is not just a local environmental effort, but it directly contribute to the global sustainability goals also. It can be ensured uh, by making the water of the river clean, by protecting the aquatic life, and by promoting the resilient community. Through these targeted local actions, we can restore the river health, we can enhance the water quality, security, and support the sustainable development for the generations to come. So, when we say the revival, revival means we have to bring back the river to its natural condition. So when the natural conditions we say means we have to revive its natural flow, the quality of the water, the biodiversity, and the ecological balance too. In this picture, you can see in the first picture, you can see how was the river earlier. Most of the rivers are such a clean and pristine were there. But now it will see most of the river in any city whenever we walk through the city or we go through the city, we'll be able to see this type of the picture. So when we are going to revive, we have to go back to this stage. And it's very difficult to go back to this natural state, but I'm very sure with the small efforts, we can definitely go back to that. So why these conditions from these pure and the clean water, it goes to these dirty, or we can say the polluted water, there are many parameters are responsible, and they are the parameters which are the key issues now river is facing everywhere. And that's why the living nature of the river is, we can see many places it becoming the dead. So the first and important thing what I observed is there is the reduction in the river flow. When the river is flowing, there are the high flow and the low flows are there. Higher flows are when there are the rainy season, when and during that time we can usually found the flooded condition. But now when the low flows are there, what we can observe the rest of the part of the year. But for many of the rivers in India, there are the alarming condition that there is the reduction in the flow of the river. There are certain river stretches in certain parts, like we can see there is, these are the news from the recent news from the newspaper, that Mahanadi in the Pennar, there is no water in the river at present. So there are many, at one place we can found that there are the flooded conditions, but there are certain stretches there is no water, or though there are the flooded condition, but in the summer season, the water is very scarce. This is again the data from the Kerala, which is again very recent data, which shows that many rivers in the 2023 showed a significant lower flow compared to their historical 37-year average. So, for example, the Periyar River peak high flow, it is also dropped by near about 160 cubic meter per second in 2023. Similar thing is observed for the Ganga basin also, and most of the data is from the 23 or up to 25. So, this is a serious cause. And the similar case with the Ganga, which is facing that in the last 1,300 years, there is a group of students from the IIT who have studied about the drying condition in the Ganga basin, and they have also observed that there is the water security for Ganga is providing the water security for many million people, but because of the declining into the monsoon at certain stretches of the river, and because of the pollution, the river condition is totally lost. And some projections also says that these, if the rainfall is increasing day by day because of the climate change, the conditions can revive by 2040, means that low flow can back to the normal flow by the year 2040. But if the conditions will remain same, this is very difficult to achieve the constant pattern of the river flow because of the climate change. And this is one more data, what it suggests that uh, there is a declining, and the data suggests that by the year 2030, these are the two graphs, the purple colored is showing the demand of the water. In the pure water we are talking here in the future, and what could be the supply. So demand may be 1,419 cubic, but whatever the water we can provide, that is 744 liter of the water only we can provide to the family. And this data is also says that 40% of the population will have no access to the drinking water by 2030. And that's why we know the sustainability goal SDGs are saying that we have to attain the sustainability by 2030. But the actual facts and figures says that we have to work very hard to attain the goals within this very short period of the time. 60% of the GDP will also get lost by the 2050 only because of the water crisis, which is also a very serious issue. Uh, and as far as the India is concerned, the most of the metro cities in India like Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai or Hyderabad, they all will run out of the groundwater by the by next few years. And at the same time, this is not the only problem river is facing, but river is facing the problem of pollution, which is very severe, and different types of the pollution river is getting polluted by the different sources. One of the very crucial source, the river getting polluted, is the pollution of the antibiotic. And once the antibiotic get released into the river, the antibiotic resistance develop. And that's when, if we see most of the river banks or most of the hospitals in the cities, they are built up on the bank of the river. And because of that, hospitals, the most of the hospital waste is also get discharged into the river. Though it is mandated to treat the waste before it releases into the water bodies, but many times it is not happening in actual, and that's why there are many studies are there which says that there are the antibiotic resistance occurred into the organisms too. So this is the Telegraph data which shows 80% India's river length are at the risk of antibiotic pollution study. And people says earlier, if we were taking a tablet of 100 mg, we were getting the relief from maybe if it's a headache, but now 500 mg is also not working very well. So this is because of that the traces of the antibiotics remains into it, and because of the continuous exposure to such a polluted water, which may not get traced in or get filtered through the filters, but then it comes into our body and it creates the resistance to it. It is not only for the humans, but similar case is there for the other organisms through. There are the estimation that 315 million people in India could be exposed to the environmental risk, which is specifically only because of the contamination of the antibiotics. So they are very lead to resistant bacteria, humans, and the ecosystem health also. And if you see the data, what it says, in the 1 year, people consume near about 29,200 tons of the antibiotic. Most of the antibiotics are which are commonly taken by the entire country. They are the amphoxicillin, cephaloxone, and the ceftriaxone, which are the major. Out of these, 8,500 tons, which is near about 29% of the antibiotics, they are directly released into the river, and 3,300 tons, that is 11% of the total antibiotics, they are directly enters into the ocean. And through the river also, that flow goes into the uh, ocean only. And that all the antibiotics which are coming after the metabolism or the wastewater treatment. So because we don't have the very specific treatment which can release the antibiotics through the treatment what we are giving to the water before it releasing into the water body. So these are the you here also you can see the these are the different waste which is dumping into the river side, but this is if you see the medical waste which is going into the river, it is quite high. It is 33.2%. This is the data from the paper which is published by our own institute, where we did the survey of the various coastal lines from people. And what we have found that major waste which is going into the river or the ocean, that is the medical waste only. So we have to think of the different strategies for these resistance. This another impact what river is facing is because of the climate change. In the picture itself shows that because of the climate change, at one time we can in one picture we can see there are the drought-like condition. The river area is quite shrink. The river flow is quite shrink, and on the other side we can see the picture from the Prayagraj because of the increased level of the Ganga in maybe Ganga and the Yamuna in the rainy season, the people has to use the boat for just crossing the roads. So this is a very tedious condition, very serious condition that we are in one season we are getting the ample amount of the huge amount of the water where we have to work on the increased flow of the water, and at one time there is water scarcity. So and the studies shows that for these 7 Indian rivers, they are recorded the rising water temperatures because of the change in the climatic conditions. So when the climatic condition change and there is a increase in the temperature, so if 1 degree temperature or 0.5 degree change in the temperature, there is a declining of the 2% of the DO is going to be decline. So it is expected that by the year 2071, if the climate change is there, and as there are the projections that the temperature is going to be rise in the near future, the DO is level dissolved oxygen which is required for the aquatic organisms to survive, it is going to be decline. So warmer water holds the less oxygen, and if there is a less oxygen, it creates the stress to the aquatic life. And if that DO goes very down, we know more than 6 DO is required in the water body for the sustenance of the aquatic life. So if it goes down, and if it goes down to 4 or 1, then the areas are declared as the dead areas only, where no aquatic organisms can survive. So and there are the other consequences which have on the aquatic life and which are observed in the in the different stretches of the Indian River. So the another aspect is of the eutrophication. Most of the rivers, because of the dumping of the waste without the treatment into the water bodies, because of the putting the organic matter into the water bodies, or the agricultural runoff is there, industrial runoff is there. So everything goes into the water body, and the water body become more nutrient rich. They become the eutrophic, and when they become the eutrophic, certain organisms or certain plants or planktons species which are favorable in that nutrient rich water, they started growing very well. And when they flourish into the water body, they used to cover the entire water body. And when the entire water gets covered with such a species, the flora or the fauna which is present below that water body, they are not getting the ample amount of the sunlight and the other food material, and their life cycle is going to be disturbed. The major culprit in the eutrophications are the nitrate, phosphate, and the level of inorganic nitrogen and the inorganic phosphorus. If we see, then they are in a higher amount. If you see the standard of nitrate which should be present in the river, that level is near about less than 1 mg per liter, or if it is less than it, still it's okay. But for the Ganga, that level, when the people have, scientists have studied for the Ganga and the Yamuna, there is a significantly above, they observed the nitrate level is more than 1 mg, and same is there in case of the Yamuna also, and similar case is there for the other rivers also, but we don't have the sufficient data available for the other rivers than this. That's why more data is we are having for these rivers. Similar cases with the phosphate, the expected phosphate or the ideal level of the phosphate to the water body is near about 0.05 to 0.1 mg per liter for natural water where there is no pollution. But if you see the level in the of the phosphate, then it is near about 0.5 to 1.6 mg per liter in the which is observed in the Ganga river. But at our place also, we have the facility of the water analysis. We have the fish disease diagnostic lab, and we always get the sample from the various from the nearby areas of the Pune city and the some other states from other cities of the Maharashtra, and we always found that the elevated level of the pH, elevated level of the TDS, salinity, and the EC, which is mainly because of the nitrate and the phosphate. So so most of the rivers are showing the elevated level. They are the eutrophic ones. Similar cases with the DIN and DIP, nitrogen and the phosphorus. The ratio is expected to be 5 to 10 raised to 1. If, it may vary a little bit river to river, but ideal is 5 to 10 is to 1. But it goes above that. It is observed that most of the rivers are having it is more than 16 is to 1. So it is water bodies are expected to be the oligotrophic or mesotrophic, which are less risk, which are having the less amount of these nutrients. When they are in a optimum amount, they will support all the aquatic life to flourish in the water body. But if it elevated, it will promote or support the growth of only certain organisms. And if the water bodies become such a polluted, we can or eutrophic, then this is also the data of the eutrophication. We says that these are the major sources, that fertilizers, urban wastewater, textile, food, agriculture, deforestation, what I earlier said, that all are the major sources which are contributing at different level to make the water bodies eutrophic. And this is the data from the CPCB. They says that there are many rivers or the tributaries of the rivers in Maharashtra, but out of that, most of that tributaries are polluted. And this report says that 54 rivers are polluted in the Maharashtra, and Mumbai's rivers are most polluted found in comparison to the other rivers. And if the eutrophication goes on, then the water become more turbidity, the visibility is going to be lost, and that's why we observed. And the prominent effect we first observed on the fish species. You can see here there is the growth of the duckweed, there is the growth of the lemna, and in certain case, when the temperature goes above, we observe the growth of the pistia, ecornia in the water body, which will cover the entire body. And if we say the data, then government has to make the tenders. They have to put the tenders to remove these all the ecornia and the pistia, and it's in a crore. So it's very tedious job to remove the contaminants from these rivers. So, and this is the data what it shows that for the year 2009, in the different parts of the country, there are many mass fish mortality or there are mass fish death incidents where they're India only because of the eutrophic water body. This is the visible effect which we observed in the fishes, but we don't have the data, or we don't know what happened with the other smaller organisms which are living in the water body, like the zooplanktons and the phytoplanktons are there. These are the issues which we have seen, which are very common for many years, and we are talking about it. But recently, the major pollutants which are occurring in all the water bodies are the microplastics, and a huge amount of the microplastics are released into the water. Plastic pollution is everywhere, and the microplastics are again causing the riverine plastic pollution. India is the major contributors for the plastic pollution for world over, and the one study estimates that near about 1,26,513 metric tons of microplastic per year is released into the Indian river by India. And it later on it goes into the ocean, and it contaminated most of the water bodies. So more than 1,000 rivers accounts for 80% of global river and plastic emission, which goes into the ocean. And it's very sad that we are the major contributors for that. I'm very fortunate to present this data from our principal sir and his team, who are continuously working on the impact of the microplastic on the different fishes and the other mollusks and what is happening with the water quality. This is the present research paper published into the Journal of Toxicology. And they have studied, this is the endemic species of the fish. And we know when the water endemic species are very specific and very fragile to the water quality. If it change, the species are going to be lost, or they got damaged because of that change. So this is the species of the Geradon's catfish, Mysis mulbaricus, which is endemic to the Western Ghat, or the global biodiversity hotspot, which we call the Western Ghat. And the species is having a severe threat because of the microplastic. When the team from our college studied the sample of these fish, they have collected it from the water from the Western Ghat, and then they observed 50% of these fishes, they are contaminated with the microplastic. And average plastic which they found in the inside the body of these fishes is near about 2.54 particles per fish. And there are 5 different morphotypes of the microplastics are observed. Here in this figure also you can see that there can be the filamentous one, there can be the microfilms are observed in the microplastic which is present in the body of this fish. The major 2 types of the microplastics are observed. One is the polypropylene and other one is the polyethylene. Polyethylene is in a more amount, that is 89.3% microplastic was only the polyethylene, and 10% is of the polypropylene is there. So if and these are the food which is consumed by the humans and the people, and we know when it goes from in the food chain, when it is rotating, because of the biomagnification, the severity of these microplastic contamination or the hazards by the fish is going to be increased. And this is not the case. This is the only one fish species, but the similar findings we observed in the mollusk study also. And the data is confirmed through the Raman spectra, which type of the microplastics are present in the body of these fishes. This is another paper in the another aquaculture fish. We have observed the microplastic contamination from similarly from our lab only. And when the baseline studies on the microplastics in the Indian rivers under the different anthropogenic influences are being checked, at that time also there are the three main categories of the microplastics are observed. That is the polypropylene, polystyrene, and the polyethylene. And at the same time, the different colors of the microplastics are observed. Black is more, that is near about 45%, followed by 30% by the red plastic, and then severe traces of the other. If you see the sources of these microplastic, they are very common sources which we are using in at our daily basis. And without knowing what would happen if we throw directly the plastic into the waste, if we are not segregated, is what is going to be happened. Most of us are not aware about that, and that's why the problem is keep on increasing. So they are the sources, are the fibers are there, caps are there, plastic bags, bottles, containers, they all are there. So different shapes of the microplastics are also there, and if they get packed into the digestive system of these organisms or into the guts of these organisms, they are not able to engulf the food, and they cause the severe causes for their survival. And at that time also we observe the mortality into the organism. So it's a very higher pollution is there of the microplastic and other. What the data shows, if the number of river stretches in India, if you observe the 445 stretches are there, then 50% of the stretches are the polluted. This is the very common picture everywhere we observed, and still the people are collecting the fishes from this site. The earlier data which we have seen for the fish species where the microplastics are contaminated, that site may not be this much of the polluted. Still, we have found the elevated level of the microplastic into their body. But if such a type of the habitats are there, most of the organisms are having ample amount of more amount of the microplastic in their body, and if we have to think on it before we are using the plastic for anything. So this is the overall again scenario of the different river pollution. So in the 2022 data is there by the CPCB, which says that 311 polluted river stretches are there. But still, this in the 2022 they observed the 311 polluted river stretches along the 279 rivers. But the 2025 24 data is quite good. From 311 we are gone down, and it's become 200 and 296 is there. That is maybe possible because of the adoption of the stretches of river at certain location, and they are getting good result at certain levels of the Ganga and the Yamuna only. BOD level at 46 river stretches, we observed the increased BOD level because of this is the biological oxygen demand, which increase into the water body when the organic matter is present in a more amount. And if the biological oxygen demand is going to be increased, the dissolved oxygen is going to be decreased. That's why if we are putting more and more organic matter into the river to decompose that organic matter, it requires the more amount of the oxygen, and that's why the oxygen level is going to be depleted. So fecal matter is another very important concern that when in the Uttarakhand, scientists have monitored the 97 different locations, they observed that 52 locations had the fecal coliforms. And if such type of the water we are drinking, it is having the health hazards. If such type of the water comes in contact with the aquatic life, then also it is having, it is the hazardous one. It can cause the waterborne diseases. It is unsafe for the drinking, and not only for the drinking, bathing also is very hazardous with such a type of the contaminated water. And uh, at the last, for what are the different threats the river is facing, this is a very important, that there are many different programs are going on the river side. As we are in a Pune city, what we are observing is there are many projects like the riverfront development projects are here. What the government is doing to beautify the river, but how to beautify the river and whether the beautification is really necessary for the river, that we have to always think, because when we are beautifying the river, we are making the cement burns over there, we are making the artificial lightning over there. What is happening with the aquatic life, that may not be seriously think, and the projects get launched. But when there are the river burns are there, the riparian flora are there, riparian trees are there, which are going to be cut only for the beautification. We know below these trees or the riparian flora, they are the egg laying site or the breeding site for many fish species, for many other aquatic organisms. And when we are cutting down these just to construct a road, or just to make the cementing bed over there to make the sit outs, that habitats we are going to lose. And once the breeding habitats are going to be lost, the biodiversity is going to be degrade. It will not survive over there. And um, overall also for the planet, if we see, then 83% of the aquatic life present in the fresh water has been declined or had been lost for the last 50 years. And still also, if we will not take any serious action for the next few years, then it may goes on increasing. And when the water bodies are become polluted, when they are not supporting any native flora and the fauna, then they are very good for the exotic fauna and the exotic flora to grow over there. So one of is the Eichhornia, which is growing example of the plant. And in case of the fish species, if we say, then most of the rivers now, what type of the fishes are found, then only the tilapia and the African catfishes are there. And these catfishes are even survive in a polluted water also, because they can breathe through the air and they can breathe through the gills, so they can survive in the contaminated waters too. So they are major, and National Biodiversity Authority has declared that tilapia and African catfish are major threats to the country's freshwater biodiversity. It's my own experience also. Whenever when we go into the field and we ask the people with what type of the fishes they are catching, they are just catching the tilapia, and it's a local community who is saying that now we are not getting any other fish except the tilapia. So it's very serious that uh, only a specific or a monoculturing is observed in the natural habitat. And that's why we have to, when we are going for the revival, and when we are talking about the local actions for the revival, maybe for the different types of the threats what we have seen up till now, we have to address it in a different way. So community participation and awareness program is the very important or effective way. Once the people know what could be the impact of these pollution on the health and on the planet, at some extent we will be able to decline that. If we can have some cleaning drives, eco walks, awareness rallies. Here in the Pune city, there are the two main, Jivit Nadi and the Kirloskar Vasundhara group is there, who are who are working on the many stretches of the river, and very seriously they are taking many efforts for the conservation and the restoration of the Mura and Mutha, and we are volunteering with them. We are happy that our students and we the teachers are also volunteering with them at the different initiative. if we can encourage the citizen science, if we can have some water quality monitoring program with them, if we can promote certain programs like My River, My Responsibility, if everybody is aware about that, then uh, the Jivit Nadi is the organization about which I'm going to talk in for a few minutes in the a few next slide. But they always say that we don't need to go to the river bank to clean the river. From the house also we can start cleaning the river. If whatever the chemicals, if we can start our day, we can, if we can recall when we starting our day by using the toothpaste, and when we are ending it at the night, maybe we are starting with the mosquito coil or the mosquito repellents. Everywhere certain amount of the chemicals are used, and then most of them are dumped into the river. So if we can reduce that much, that is also okay for the river. That is our individual contribution for the for reviving the river. That is possible for everybody. So this is one of the voluntarily project we did with the Kirloskar Vasundhara group. Kirloskar and Vasundhara group have adopted the river Ram, about which I will give. This is the Ram Nadi restoration program, which is through the community adopted by the Kirloskar Vasundhara group. This is the river revival mission, and it is the collaborative efforts by the Kirloskar Vasundhara group, along with the 12 different NGOs are also there, Rotaries are there, local bodies, colleges are there, and certain citizens. They have the different, they arranges the different ecological actions to aware the citizens and the students, and they help them to participate in that and to understand the structure of the river. So few actions are they have the photo walk for the student. We have the very good, they have the very good initiative that Ram Nadi Parikrama is there. That entire stretch of the river is of 19 kilometer, and of these 19 kilometer river, there are the 16 stretches are made, and out of that 16 stretches, each stretch is adapted by each college, and that each college is having one NGO also who is supporting for that, and they are working for each state. So it is not easy for a single college to or a single community to work for the entire 19 kilometer, but it's easy for the community to work on a one stage. So we have also adapted one stage where we are working with this Kirloskar Vasundhara group. So as a part of this mission, this is the Ram Nadi, and it is flowing from the backside of this Someshwar temple is there, and on the backside of the temple, the Kund is there, where the people used to come over there and they take the water from the Kund. They wash their legs with the Kund water, and then they go to the temple. But when we have observed the Kund, the water is very polluted, and that polluted water is only used by the pilgrims. And when we did the microbial assessment of the Kund water by the group of our students from the microbiology, we have found there are certain skin infection causing bacteria or the microorganisms are also growing in the water body. And water is polluted one, and that's why we have accepted to go for the eco restoration of that Kund. And we have adopted a simple technique over there through the establishment of the reed bed. We got certain amount of the success in filtering the water. So here, if in this picture, if you can see, we have constructed. This is the diagrammatic representation of the reed bed which we have constructed. Here we have made the 2 or 3 different ponds, and on the different plants we have their bunds we have created, and on the different bunds we have planted a different plant species which have the potential to accumulate the metals and the heavy metals and the contaminants. So different plants have the different capacity. In the first pond, we have tried to grow certain algal species which can make the pond oxygenated, and then that water will pass through these first pond into the second, where again there are some reed plants we have grown, like the alocasias are there here in the algal beds, few duckweeds, and here, whatever the material we have used for the construction of the bunds is the material which is there only. We have not added any other material over there. Otherwise, there could be the addition of some other microbes or through the soil in that water body. And when it pass on from one pond to the other, and from second, then third and fourth, and when the water passes from the first pond up to the fourth pond, what we have observed is there is a little bit, there is change in the water quality, there is improvement in the water quality, and then later it goes into the Kund. So this is the data what we have tried over there, that earlier the water quality in the Kund was quite dirty, quite polluted, but at certain level we were able to get the change in the quality, purity in the water. There is a change in the dissolved oxygen level. Earlier it was 2.9. Certain parameters we were not able to achieve because of certain local actions at the site when we were not there. So we are not able to attend the EC or TDS. But DO, because as we were able to maintain the water flow over there, pH, conductivity, that parameters we were able to achieve, and the quality of the water which is coming in the Kund is quite better right now than the earlier water quality. So this was the small efforts, that entire experiment we did along with the student, and we achieved 50, we can say the 75% of the good quality water. In such initiatives, the NGOs, the local bodies, and the citizens can play a very important role. They can be the expertise for the different projects. Being in the modern college, I always found it's a fortunate that we have the many association with the NGOs, and we are also with the different group. We are working on the different parameters of reviving the river in different way. The principal sir is also like the Namami Ganga project, we all know. So sir is also the expert. Now Maharashtra government is going to implement the Namami Chandrabhaga project soon, where he is also the one of the expertise for making the project proposal. There are the local bodies, panchayats are there, municipalities are there. They can also enforce certain rules to manage the resources. There can be the citizens can make the group, as I said, and can adopt the stages. What we are doing here right now. Also, we have adopted one stage from the Ram Nadi, and we are working on the cleaning of it. So similar organization like which is working is the Jivit Nadi. We are also the part of the Jivit Nadi. It is the Living River Foundation by the Shailaja Deshpande is heading this particular organization. And right now they are mostly working on the riverfront development program, which is going on the front of the Muramutha River in the Pune city. They are associated with the corporation, and they are working to revive and conserve the river through the community participation, awareness program, and many sustainable practices. Every year, we, along with our students, we used to participate in the My River, My Responsibility program, where we go to one stretch of the river, one either Mura or Mutha, and then we observe the entire river. Students see the entire biodiversity over there, and at the same time, they also see what are the problems are facing the river and how the students can participate. Uh, and the beauty of this initiative is it is not only for the citizens or the old age people or the student, but from the smaller school children's, they have the activity like there are the storytelling activities, painting activities, singing is there, riparian flora mapping is there, where our students are contributing for that, and we achieved mapping of many of the plants on the bank of the Mura River. This is another initiative along with the students we are doing is along with the Rotary Club, that digital water management program. It is the literacy program we have tried to do. We have adopted one village, Sutarwadi, and in that village, students have collected the water sample and the soil sample at the different location. Whatever the water resources are there in the village, from all the resources, every month they were taking the water samples. They were analyzing the data, and they were trying to analyze the data by using the different apps, so that, and by using that app, every farmer or every citizen from the city can analyze their water and the soil quality within a short period of the time. So they have adapted, and at the same time, certain school programs, so students have conducted in the different schools about the water quality. So water availability, water quality, that everything can be understand on the digital platform only by using the different apps on the, so groundwater level can also be also be get on the app, and the different quality of the water can also get by using the app. Apart from that, we have the different workshops also we are conducting to aware about the river. Know your river. By conducting the workshop, cleanliness drives are arranged at a different locations on the river side. Know our river, visit our river, river walk. This type of the different initiatives in every year we are conducting for the student, and student goes there, and most of them are volunteering for this project. So, but this is the one of the group of the students who are working on the mapping of the river flora. They have the app to map the riparian flora, what different types of the trees and the plant species and the are there through these as a part of their internship. This is also the important initiatives college is running for more than 15 years, that we have the Chatushringi temple over here, and every year student used to go there. They collect the Nirmalya from there. As I said, we don't always we don't need to go to the river side to clean the river, but certain initiatives if we can take, if we have not collected, so students are collecting all the Nirmalya for all the 9 days of the Navratri, and we made the compost out of it, which will then given to the different trees on the hill itself. If we have not managed this Nirmalya, then it will directly dump. So what the temples or the other authorities do, they will dump everything into the river body. And once it goes into the river body, there is more amount of the organic matter, and we know the DO is going to be declined. So every year we are segregating that all the waste, and students contributed for that. So all the so one of the way to manage the or to revive the river is the segregation of all the type of waste. We have to ensure always that no waste should go directly into the river without treatment, and if we can achieve that, we can minimize the waste which is going to be released into the water body. May not be 100%, but at certain level it is possible to ensure that. So afforestation is one of the initiative we can take with the help of the citizens or the other students. Flora mapping, as I said, this is what the certificate given by the Jivit Nadi to the students for their initiative for mapping the river. So different stakeholders we can involve in the afforestation program and the riparian buffer restoration program, and we can definitely achieve. We can implement certain traditional water harvesting methods. If we can blend the recent technology with the traditional method, we can achieve more success in reviving the river. Like the construction of bunds are there or the johards are there. So students used to go and they used to do this thing. And at the last, though we are doing many efforts and we are citizens are participating there, but at the local governance level and at the policy level, if we can make or achieve something, it would be easy to go for the revival project. So we can have the river management committee, which we have here in the Pune for the Muramutha river restoration, and they are always coordinating with the municipal authority for any of the activities which are taking place at the river banks. Uh, Government can promote, or if we can have the policy, if we are promoting certain incentives for if the people are following any sustainable practices, like this is the example from the Godavari basin where government gives the incentive if they most of them farmers are adapting the organic farming. So as if they go for the organic farming, the lesser amount of the pesticides and agriculture runoff will be less, which is contaminating the water. So that incentive may work sometime. Community participation is very important, as we have seen in the Jeevit Nadi Foundation. So through this way, if we go for the river revival, so at the start only, as I said, when we are saying we are reviving the river, means we are not only reviving the water or making the water clean, but at certain amount we are directly linking it to achieving the global sustainability goals, where the three main goals, there are few additionals are there, but these three are uh, directly related to the quality of the water, that clean water and sanitation. So we can protect the river, ensure the safe drinking water, sanitation and fresh water. And if we can achieve that, then it is easy to prevent the pollution and maintain the ecosystem services. Similar case is there for the healthy river support to the aquatic biodiversity and preventing the downstream marine pollution. So if we can conserve the river, then plastic and the chemical flow, which is directly going into the ocean, is going to be reduced, and it will support the life below the water. So which is one of the objective of SDG to achieve. Similar case is there for the life which is present on the land, which is near to the river basin. If we bring the river back to the life, it helps not only the people, nature, and the communities, but it again, as I said, all the we can contribute to the global sustainability goal, which we have to attain in a very short period of the time. So with this, I like to conclude my talk. And again, thank you so much for everybody to join the session, and Director Gujarat Ecological Society for giving me this platform to share some of my ideas with you. Sania Madam, who is always in contact with me. Thank you so much. And
Thank you, Dr. Prachi. It was like a mini master class, right? Like from where it started and how to solve it, right? From the problem, different kinds of a problem, and how to solve it also. It was really inspiring looking at the steps which you have shared, be it the Jeevti Nadi, be it the digital e-waste collection, and much more. Without taking much of the time, there are some question and answers. Now the session is open for Q&A. Many people were ready to ask many questions to you. So you can ask directly to Dr. Prachi, and she
I
will
will
be happy to give you the
I will
answer
try
in
to
details.
answer, and if I'm not able to answer some of the question, but you can share the question with me. I will try to give the answer and share with you.
Sure, ma'am. Ma'am, you can please close your presentation, or you can just stop sharing the screen.
Okay.
Yes, it is open for Q&A, and before that, we have a question. We have already had a question from Mr. Bhatt. Why river flow has been very low compared with the previous average flows in these river? I guess this is with respect to Kerala river comparison. Is it because of less rainfall in those regions? And second is again from him only. Antibiotics release in river. Any actions being implemented to prevent the release of antibiotics to its river? Any examples? You can see the question in the chat box now.
So I will answer the first question, that why the river flow is getting reduced. There are on the river banks, if you see in the most of the city, and with respect to these areas also, many constructions and everything is going on there, and to increase the land area, they are using the stresses, that is one of the factor. And other is because of the low rainfall at the source region, and they are not getting the water in the water body. That is one of the cause for reducing the river. And the second question is chat box.
I think, can I add something?
Yes, sir, please.
I think the dams which we have constructed are
Yes.
one of the major reason for reducing fresh water flow into the river. We have using this at certain places we are constructing major dams, like all the rivers are dammed, I think, major. So the past records which are before 1970s or 60s are showing good water flow. But after that, the downstream region, there is a reduction of freshwater flow because of that constructed huge dams or major dams in this river. So yes, and second thing, as Madam said, the urbanization, all that are also contributing to the reduction in freshwater flow.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, sir. There is another question: antibiotic release into river. Any addition actions being implemented to prevent the release of antibiotics? There are already, as I said during the presentation, also it is banned to directly dump into the waste directly into the river side. But when I was reading for this only, so there is one figure and the fact data is there for the India also, that overall in all the cities of India, if we see, the STPs or the are working only for the 33% capacity only. So if they are working in a, it's not a 50% also. So maybe if the waste is not getting treated properly before it is releasing into the water body, so that is that's why they are there. And there are no specific actions I have seen or I have observed during my reading. So I don't have any example for that. But sure, I will search for the example if any is there, and I will try to answer it.
If you don't mind, can I add?
Sir, please.
So far as the antibiotic resistance is concerned, a small experimentation had been set on the Mula-Muta river of Pune river system. The project was funded by Melbourne, Royal Melbourne University, Australia. It was a joint project of Modern College Ganeshkhin, Savitribai Phule Pune University, and RMIT University, Australia. Almost $40,000 have been funded for that. So we had set up an experiment on the river side of the Mula-Muta, and we have observed that whatever the hospitals which have been located into the heart of the city, their drainage is actually entering into the rivers. So we have identified the spots into the Mula-Muta river, and we have set up an experiment there, that how much of the bacteria resist to these antibiotics which are encountered into the water. And then the set of the experiment had been set up next into our laboratory by purification of the bacterial strain. And then to our surprise, we have seen that there is a huge bacterial resistance to the antibiotic. And therefore, I think previously, if the doctor might have been recommending 100 mg of any antibiotic tablet, now he may be recommending a 200 mg tablet. This is how actually it is reflecting, which is not visible, but it is a very alarming and threatening signal, which have been proved experimentally in our laboratory and with a good published literature on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for adding this information. It is really very much needed. And Dr. Prachi, we have more questions for you. I request everyone, you can raise your hand and you can directly ask in spite of typing, chatting, I mean, in the chat box, and then we also reading in the chat box. You can directly ask to Dr. Prachi.
Yeah, proper monitoring should be taken up for the release of individual danger. You have to communicate to local. Yeah. It's very important your organization make. Yes, sir. We will surely do this also. Anyhow, we are in association with the local corporation and all, and whatever the research we do, we also communicate with them, so that antibiotic data we will also share with them. There is one more question, that is there any existing law or the policy to relevant to the river conservation and the promotion of native plant restoration? So we already have the Water Act in the 1974, we have the pollution control board through which the water pollution is also get. So through the Act, Water Act, which is there in the 1974, it is there for the conservation of the river. There is Environment Act is also there to store the biodiversity. So acts are already there and policies are also there. So for everything, the policies are there, but successful implementation of the policy we have to ensure. Because now government is also promoting to go for the native plantation in Maharashtra also at many places. We are promoting the native plantation. We are also doing the native plantation. We have here native plant nursery in the college campus for it. It's there. So when the government circulars comes in the colleges for the plantation program, they are also written that strict mention is there that only the native plantation should be done.
Dr. Prachi, I just wanted to know, like, how we can replicate the models. Like, yeah, we have still more coming from Mr. Bhatt. Thank you, Mr. Bhatt, also,
Thank
and
you, Bhatt.
telling awareness program. Please take up awareness program. I'm sure both organization will. So my question was, Dr. Prachi, how we can replicate the model of your Jeevti Nadi, or what are the small programs which has been not small, but of course having bigger impact, how it can be replicated to other states? My one question is that. And second question is that, like you have said that during these 9 days, your students and everybody come, they collect the waste. So is the similar kind of drive is carried out during Ganesh Utsav or during all other bigger celebrations across the state, or it is specifically during that particular time?
So I will answer the first question, second question first. So during the Navratri, we do the Nirmalya collection. And during the other festivals, so in Maharashtra, Ganesh festival is also a big festival. During that, we promote the Eco Ganpati at that time, Eco Ganpati idol. So Shadu Ganpati idol we promote, and we also promote that the soil donation after the. So we promote that after the Ganesh Utsav or the Ganesh festival, the all the idols or the soil they can give or donate into the campuses. We have there is Punaravartan, like one initiative is there. During that initiative, all the soil is collected at the different collection center, and then that all the collected soil again we give back to the vendors who are making the idols, and we always ensure that idols should not go into the river directly. And at the same time, whatever the waste, we have the Red Cross Society also working in the college and in the entire city. They are also collecting the Nirmala at that time. We ensure that it should not. So it is during most of the festival, we are trying that it should not occur. And your first previous question is if every state or every city can identify the different patches in the city, which are the probable patches or the stretches. It is very easy to adapt the river patch which is near to your location where you are living, or if the community or NGOs are contributing, they can adopt a particular river. You can make the different stretches out of it, and along with the students and the college. So we have the different programs for the school students also. We take the school students along the river bank and ask them to draw the whatever they have seen near to that. So it creates the awareness about it. So by that way, we can, one way of the awareness we can do with that. And if we want to implement certain, like we have, the Reed Bed project is a very simple project. We don't need, and many of the, or financial support also we don't need more. We have to just construct a small bunch by using the material present over there only. Some of the material you need to take from the outside. Or at one more lake is here, Khatpewadi Lake, where also we are working on the restoration of that along with the Kirloskar group. And where the students, they have made the floating beds on the river, which is also simple. With the bamboo, they have made the beds, and on the bed they have planted the plants which are having the phytoremediation potential, and then that beds are floating on the lake. So by these initiatives, these are the simple initiative along with the students and the community, you can definitely achieve.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Prachi.
Thank
We have another question regarding, I guess this is regarding the nursery. Does the nursery, I guess,
Yeah, we don't have the
native plants,
aquatic plants in our nursery, but for our program here, there is one nursery is there, which is only for the native, and they have the all the types. They have the aquatics also from the native. So when we required for our project work, we used to buy from them. We have only the tree species, native tree species in our nursery.
yeah, any other question? Any other thing, ma'am, which you would like to share with us or
So
anyone
it was
else? Yeah, please.
um, it was a good experience for me also, because we are doing so many activities, and this is the platform which I found that what our students are doing here, because of the limitations of the time and sticking. I have explained few activities here, but our students are very actively working for the river. And last year we have applied for the National Water Award also, yet the results are not declared for it. But uh, because so many initiatives we are taking here in the colleges, and we take the essay competition on the river. We took the different poster presentation, rally for the water, like that digital water program. That was also a very wonderful program. That 5 different parameters, anybody can, layman can also do. That if he has the water sample and he has the app on the mobile, it is made by some other person, but through the app, we can analyze all the metals, uh, and we can analyze pH, DO, all the physical and the chemical parameters we can analyze through the app. So it is also good awareness for the local community also. Basically, they were working for the farmers who can analyze their data, their quality of water and the soil.
Yeah, absolutely. Even that was very impressive initiative, I must say. It was really very good. When even layman can observe and identify everything, what is going
We
on
will
in
like
Siam.
to write in your journal. So you have the newsletter. If you can cover some of our initiatives in that, would be like to share.
Absolutely, ma'am. It will be honor for us also, and we would definitely have such valuable contribution to reach to the masses, and the how simple steps can create
I
mass
think Punya, this is
differences.
a very good suggestion. She has volunteered herself for the article writing. And even we can take some abstract from webinar and publish in the next edition. So that last webinar we covered this. These were the key points of the author with some of the photograph even from the presentation. But this time I think Dr. Prachi, we would like to receive your article in our next edition. Definitely.
Yes, sir. Sure, sure. It will go to the many people, and they can also get inspired through that. It's a small initiative by the students, but have the larger impact.
Yes, absolutely. We go to the masses because we have a good database, and really they were very impressive and very inspiring at both the same time. So we would definitely expect contribution from you, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So I with that, if nobody has any questions, so with that we would like to close the webinar. I would request everyone, please switch on the cameras for our group photograph before we say a vote of thanks to Dr. Prachi. And we shall always say appreciation. It was really good masterclass for me, at least, on this river revival. So you can also share your comments, how you felt about the webinar, what knowledge you had gained in the chat box, or directly to the Dr. Prachi.
They can also share some suggestions also if needed in the presentation. It will it will improve me a little bit to add in my presentation.
That is so humble of you. So if and no one is having any questions, I will just click on the take the screenshot of this as a certificate. That's it. Thank you, everyone. And I would like to hand over to Dr. Jayendra for vote of thanks.
Yeah, I sincerely express my thanks to Dr. Prachi. It was wonderful having you on this platform. You started with the water flow, which is I think very basic. Any river requires to have some good flow of water. So you started with them and then went to the water quality. All the important parameters like phosphate and pH, DO, BOD that you covered, that was a very, I think, detailed. It was a quite detailed. Then you also went to the, I think, which is rarely discussed, like your this antibiotics in the water. That is very critical. Nobody, they give that much importance to antibiotics. And the most of things which is discussed nowadays is plastic. I think, yeah, that also you covered very well, particularly with the case of, the fish having bioaccumulation or accumulation of plastic. So that is very wonderful. And then finally, the all efforts that you are doing, that's very highly appreciative efforts you are doing around Pune. We are also having a case of Barodara. We are trying to conserve Vishwamitri River. We are fighting for that. And doing some good work recently. We are working with municipality. We have broadened the river. That is very difficult task in an urban area to remove the encroachment. So this time we had successfully done this. So I think Baroda and Pune, that was very close. We are using traditional approach to towards the environment. So I think that recalled me. And one sentence which I got very much impressed is, you need not to go to the river to conserve the rivers. That is nowadays very critical. I think that should be the mantra for common citizens, because by creating riverfront, you want to go to the river, to enjoy the river, but in that process, sometimes you pollute the river. So I think first getting understanding how to prevent that pollution is very critical. And at home, staying at home by using some practices, following some practices, you can conserve it. I think that was a very good message. And I sincerely thanks to you, and I hope we will have some small but very beautiful article on your this presentation. Thank you so much, and thanks all participants to sharing your time, spending on time on this platform. And thanks Sonia. Yesterday she was sick. I think she's having some fever and some problem, but she came out of and host this presentation webinar. Thank you all. Again, thank you, Dr. Prachi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And we also thank the principal sir of Dr. Prachi's college, who joined us today, who shared his knowledge, his expertise to us. Sir, we would definitely look for the collaborations with you also. So thank you so much for giving your precious time to us, sir.
In spite of his busy time, he has spent 1 hour here in the presentation. He is specialized in the freshwater fishes, diversity and the microplastic. He is only working along with his research team. On the fish disease also, we have the lab over here on which he trained us in that.
Absolutely. Being so busy also, he came and he shared his values. I mean, expertise, it was really much appreciated. So our heartful thanks to sir also. And with that, as Jayendra sir has said, we look forward for your articles and definitely any other things for collaboration. We are always open. With that, we close today's webinar. So thank you everyone who joined us on this your busy schedule. You could have done anything, but you chose to join and share us and share, gain the knowledge. And we would like to tell you that recording of this webinar will be available on our YouTube channel. So you can definitely rewatch it also. So thank you so much. Everybody can leave the room now. Thank you, Dr. Prachi.
Thank you.
Thank you.